I just totaled it
Yeah.
up. By now, you've spent 10 grand on Dan Lok products. The opportunity cost totaling with scholarships and everything else of just kind of wasting time on this HTC thing is $50,000.
Yeah, I don't like to hear that.
Sorry.
I know I gotta face that. Like I gotta live with that.
So did you relate when Garrett said this was a cult?
That was pretty hashtag relatable. I hated the mindset I had so much during that time because it was very much, you almost, in order to justify everything that I had done at that point, I almost had to like automatically belittle others just to put myself on that pedestal to think like I'm on the route to success.
How have I never heard of the mantras that Dan Lok has for everybody? What?
Yeah.
Dude, no way.
Yeah.
He's got mantras for people to say every day. You are lying.
Every day.
You're so lying to me.
And then you'd have to listen to them 2 at night and 1 in the morning. And it was like,
do you say your prayers to Dan too?
Yeah, well, that's basically what it was, because the whole time it was like, it was basically Dan Lok ASMR.
Oh, Dan,
for like
please
30
bring
minutes.
me a Salesforce contract. Please, Dan. Please, Dan. I've got to tell you, this is one of the strangest things I've ever heard. So you have to listen to Seafood 3 times a day?
Yeah, every single day. And there were people that actually did it, so.
How have we gone this deep into Dan Lok and no one has told me?
Who the hell wants to talk about it?
Welcome to Fake Guru. Guys, this is part 2 of our expose on Dan Lok. Now, as you guys know, last time we had Garrett, the teacher, who lost $26,000 from being in Dan's course, from the consequences of his decision to join Dan's course and then the related upsells. That triggered an avalanche of emails into my inbox. And, we can only pick so many. I was lucky enough to have Anthony come forward and want to give his story as well. And I think it's really important to just keep hearing from you guys. So thank you so much for coming forward, Anthony. I appreciate you taking the time to tell your story.
Yeah, no problem. And also the lighting here is going to be a little bit off center because watch what happens when I do this. Yeah, pretty blinding, but otherwise in the dark here, best I can do on my end, but I'm ready to talk about this because it's been a long time coming, I gotta say, because it's just been one catastrophe after another. Now, I, of course, have to accept my fair share of the responsibility. Of course, nobody forced me to buy anything, right? Like, there's no pressure in any case. It was me wanting to join in and start where I wanted to go, and with my dissatisfaction with what I was doing beforehand. So,
but you're just telling people the consequences of that decision.
Exactly. I'm just telling people the consequences of my decision. So, with that in mind, I guess the best place to get started is, exactly where I was at when I started HTC. So, HTC, I don't remember if Garrett had mentioned in his videos, but they have different seasons. So essentially, for the 7 weeks that you're in the course, 7 to 8 weeks, they'll group you up into different seasons based on when you joined. So for me, I was season 4, and that was actually around June of 2018. So setting the setting. All right, so here I was. At the time, I was 17 actually, and I had just got my high school diploma, did my graduation party. I had been saving up a lot of money, which this is important because this will come in later as I explain just the timeline and all the crazy shit that happened. I had saved up roughly $10,000 US of my own money, just working part-time job at a gas station for a year and a half. And then I was fortunate enough to have a college education fund, which my father provided for. He had put $22,000 US into that account. Now, I had, of course, set up the expectation that I was going to do phenomenal things. At the time, I was like, I'm going to college early, like during high school and shit. And, I want to go be a doctor and in specifics, interventional radiology. And then I found that interventional radiology and diagnostic radiology in particular is currently being replaced with automation, technological automation. So this started to feed into like, kind of the fear of, well, what am I going to do? Got introduced to a bunch of like Dave Ramsey's content, really good stuff, and eventually started building into YouTube's algorithm that I was interested in a lot of this business acumen and a lot of the financial stuff and how to make a lot of money. And sure enough, I got onto Dan Lok's content. So here I am. I'm finally wrapping up my school, and I'm learning more and more about Dan's stuff. And I got to give it to him. The guy knows how to make great content. And when I found actually Garrett mentioned it in the previous video with Stefan James, there was that webinar, the wealth triangle and whatnot. So here I am.
Wait, Stefan James is part of what helped you get into the course?
Yeah. And the funny thing is, it was like the first and only Stefan James video I've ever watched. So, I saw it.
Stefan James has some serious skeletons in his closet. You don't know about it?
Really? No, I have no idea.
The people don't know about it. The people are gonna know about it. But it's bad. It's really bad. Yeah, shocking.
Jesus.
Maybe worse than Dan Lok. I don't know. It's bad.
I'll have to stay tuned to that shit.
Yeah. That's okay. So Stefan James. Okay, all right.
Yep. So it was like the first and only video of his that I watched, and of course my impression on watching it, I was like, yeah, this is pretty good. And then I saw that Dan was also in it, and now I was like, pretty cool. And then they mentioned the webinar, and of course I signed up, so I watched it, and I got my way through it, and then of course it was like, all right, so we're going to present to you the high income skill, which makes sense. Electricians, they get paid a lot of money because that's a high income skill, and sales is also a high income skill, both tangible real world skills of high market value. And when I saw the high ticket closer program, I was like, man, if I can learn how to do sales, because my stepfather's in sales and he makes really good money, if I could do that, that would be awesome, because then I wouldn't have to go to school and not have to spend all that money, because I also wanted to earn my way into Canada to be with my girlfriend, who at the time I had been with 3 years at that point, and we were looking to close the gap, and we're still together. Our anniversary was actually this Sunday, so that was pretty fun.
Congratulations.
Thank you 4 years for this time, and it's been a hell of a year in between, I'll tell you that. So if you can imagine, especially with what you're gonna hear. So so where was I again? I was talking about
so you want to get the high income skills. You don't have to go to college. You can go go be with your girlfriend in Canada. It kind of expedites all of this. You don't have to waste time going to a job. Going to prepare for a job that may not be there when you get there.
Exactly. Right. Yes. So with all of these factors in mind, and just these doubts starting to creep up in my head, like, well, man, if I stick with what I'm doing, how do I even know that's the right choice? Like, how does anyone know anything's the right choice? Am I going to regret not doing this program? And of course I saw the price on it, and I was like, okay. And I was like, I got maybe 300 under that in terms of total graduation money. Chipping in 200 of my own money, that shouldn't be too bad. If I can pound this out over the summer, I'm joining in June, right? If I can get this done by July and freaking, get an influencer, close sales, I might not even have to go to school, and I'd still be able to stay in Canada because I'd be in. Maybe, within 2 years, I can hit the net worth required to just go into Canada and start an enterprise. I gotta figure this shit out. So of course, I joined the HTC program. Now, going through it the first time, I gotta say the information hasn't really helped me much at all. Just from like a consumer review sort of way of looking at it, I haven't used the information once since I got it. So if I could really estimate what I would have paid for it, it would have been $0. But I know that. I mean,
You're saying the course is worth $0 to you, which I pretty much say to everyone. If you're faced with a course that they're going to charge you $2,500 for, don't buy it.
Yeah.
I will say it's never worth it, but you guys know what I mean by that. Let me get this straight. Let me recap this. So Dan took your graduation money and then some.
Yeah.
Promised you a dream, right? You're stressing out about college because everybody is worried. It's true that the economy is fragile right now. So he's taking advantage of your fear, your FOMO, fear of missing out on some new incredible opportunity that could
Which
be
was
just
huge.
awaiting you. Okay, so then what happened? So you're starting to get to the end of HTC?
Yeah, so it's July now on this timeline, and I'm finishing up on HTC, and I was thinking, okay, I'm going to get an influencer pretty soon. I better be ready. I'm going to attend this last class. And then how it worked was me moving to Canada to start my student visa was the day after my final HTC class. So when that came up, I was like, okay, a little bit anxious here because I got to make a 14-hour drive in the morning, and like I'm going to be up late doing this, and I want to make sure I'm doing it right because I want an influence. I want to make money. I want to not have to be able to go to school. And if anything, have those results before I even start school, which I believe was supposed to be in September. And so sure enough, go through the whole thing. And at the end, as Garrett had mentioned, there was the upsell to Inner Circle. So I was like, well, shit. I mean, if I'm going to be here's me being a dumbass. If I'm going to be
No, dude. Everyone blames himself, and I don't know why. The course is carefully constructed to make you feel the way you felt. I want you to know that. Like, you're blaming yourself, like I shouldn't have believed that, but literally you're believing what you're told to believe. I want to stress that. So say what you believed, right? Say what you believed.
Okay. So at the time I was thinking, well, you know what? How about if I invest this extra $2,000, which to me, I can take that right out of the money I earned working at a gas station. That does not touch the college money that my father has generously put aside for me. And then the extra 200, well, hell, I'll be making that. So 200 a month, that's not bad. Like, to have this inclusive access to the team, Team Dan Lok, and be able to kind of put my name in the spotlight.
Right, because Dan basically pitches it as this, guys. It's a $2,000 upsell with $200 a month. $200 a month. But a lot of Dan's pitch, and correct me if I'm wrong, is you guys will be making so much money. I mean, you believe in your own success, don't you? You want to invest in your own success, don't you?
Yeah.
Aren't I, Dan Lok, the high ticket closer, Sifu? Aren't I worth the $2,000 and $200 in value a month? Like, aren't I worth that? And that's how he gets people to buy in and go, oh, well, of course I bet on myself. He turns it into like, you're not betting on yourself if you don't join.
Well, yeah. But the biggest thing was, so the funny part is that wasn't even what sold me on it. And of course I saw a lot of people that you're going to love this, because I don't remember if Garrett mentioned it or not, but I mean, of course I saw a lot of new friends. They were like, oh, I joined IC in the group chat and everything. And I was like, okay, starting to tempt me now. But the real kicker was at the end, it was supposed to be this deal with Salesforce, I believe is what it's called, where essentially it was supposed to be exclusive contracts for Inner Circle members. And if you were in, you essentially you were first on deck. In fact, there was supposed to be special training for Salesforce, and you were supposed to start off working some contracts if available. So of course it was.
Wait. You were told that Dan had a contract with Salesforce?
Now, I'm not sure if it was a contract or like it was just a mutual agreement between them or something, but I know that they were involved. And then the guy who runs Salesforce something at the time, he made a video with Dan explaining how they were going to do it. He was part of the training calls and whatnot. And then, of course, it just fell apart one day. I don't remember what the explanation was. I know there was one at the time, but like everyone who had already spent all the money, like we couldn't say anything about it or else we'd get kicked out. It was like, well, we don't want to be kicked out because what if there's something next?
But that's sort of, but the promise, I mean, that's maybe some of the reason you bought in is because Salesforce.
Oh, I know a lot of people that bought
Salesforce
it
is
just
super legit
because of that, and I'm one of them. I only bought Inner Circle because I figured, well, shit. I mean, I'll be able to work because how it was advertised was, if you buy into Inner Circle, you're going to be able to have access to companies like Microsoft, AT&T, and a couple other logos and stuff. And it's like they're going to be through Salesforce.
They're going to be knocking down your door, Anthony. They're going to be begging.
It was actually, I think it was something along those lines where it was like, they're waiting for you. It's going to happen. And sure enough, I was like, well, shit. I mean, if the agreement's there, then I'll go for it, because then again, just maybe I'll have the money by the end of August, or if I was starting in September, maybe end of August, I'll have the money where I won't have to go to school. And I can stay in Minnesota for a little bit longer and then come back with the 300,000 or whatever and visit my girlfriend all the time, because I can work from home, right? So yeah, no, fuck me, that didn't work.
It just makes me so sad, because this whole course preys on young people who are full of hopes, dreams, self-confidence. Dan took your gas station money, dude. There's no
more than that.
Work.
I haven't even hit the best parts. So,
dude, there's nothing. People work so hard for their money. When you're working a minimum wage job or slightly above minimum wage, every dollar matters so much.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, come on. It
sucked. I mean, just knowing that it was spent for nothing. That the worst thing, which of course you already know from what we've talked about already, but what the viewers will know by the end of this, we haven't even touched on yet. The thing that just kills me inside, even to this day, it still fucks me up a bit. So, moving on in this timeline. So here I am, joined Inner Circle, and actually I did manage to find an influencer almost immediately. Had nothing to do with Salesforce whatsoever. This was just me going off on my own through LinkedIn, and I found someone and I worked with them. So in HTC, we were taught no cold calling ever. Bad. Can't do it. Can only be inbound warm leads. But the thing is that with this cold calling situation, like, I was always like, man, I'm not supposed to do that though. Like, I don't know, maybe I'm like a failure as a closer because I have to call companies or something. You should have seen how weird it was. Like, just sitting, if you announced that you were doing any cold calling, you were ostracized just for that. Not by anyone on Team Dan Lok or in a high authority. It was just the community members.
Because it was so preached against.
It was so like taboo almost. It was just weird.
How bizarre.
Like, I don't get it either.
Cold leads are really common.
I mean, that's what marketing is. It's just, the digital or like a billboard, a hardware version of cold calling.
Yeah.
So
yep.
I was like, man, I'm going to have to keep this operation under wraps. I'm going to have to keep it pretty low. And of course, the entire team that I was working with that gentleman was also from HTC. So they had all found him as well. And we were all working together. And, long story short, not a single person made a sale. And we all blamed it on so many different things, like just all dumb stuff that I think my personal reason was I just didn't try hard enough.
Also you're a beginner salesman. I mean, you have no real, like, even the idea of sales training starts when you start actually selling to real people. I mean, I'm not going to say that sales training as a supplement isn't good, but expecting that people can learn sales in a classroom without having like boots on the pavement, just having experience is ridiculous. So no, I wouldn't put that on you. I would just say there's not much you can expect no 8-week course is going to prepare you to be a salesman. You're still going to start a total beginner.
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from. And personally, when I was going through that, I think if I remember correctly, I was like nervous as hell. I was anxious. I could barely pick up the phone and call these companies, especially like the disastrous cold calling, like you're interrupting their day. But if someone is calling you, then you're the one in authority. So if you're calling them, you have no authority. And just all this stuff got stuck in my head. And it was all I was thinking, all I could think about. And back with HTC, just concurrently me with an influencer thinking, well, I don't have to go look for another influencer. I've got one. And then also me failing with my influencer. So maybe I should or shouldn't have, who knows what if else, or should have been going on with all that. But still paying $200 a month in the meantime to figure it out, right? So, and
you're just bleeding money at this point.
Oh, just like someone stuck me with a knife, or my wallet, for instance. But like, hell, like
bleeding money right into Dan Lok's pocket.
Yeah, and the Ontario gasoline prices that murdered me. Oh man, not having any income at all and trying to pay gas in Canada is a bad idea. So the combination of the two roundhouse kicked my bank account, and I was pretty demolished. I was actually, by the time Closes in Black came up, I was wondering how I was going to pay for it. Now I went from.
How much does Closers in Black cost?
So it was supposed to be free with Inner Circle, and then there was an optional VIP upgrade where all you had to do was submit $200 US dollar, and it was refundable, or like it was refunded to you upon arrival. So it was just to claim your spot in the VIP or whatever. And then, of course, from where I was flying, I think tickets were I think it was like $500 a person, and I brought my girlfriend with because I wanted to take her out to Vancouver while I was out there. And so when we went out there, hotel, we actually got I know Garrett was, he was stressing on the point that, Sifu said we had to stay at this hotel.
Yeah.
I mean, it was cheaper than all the other hotels. So, I mean, I didn't really mind that too much, but overall, I think the trip cost me maybe $2,000. That's with food and dumb shit like that license plate up on the wall behind me. But so when we got there, that $200 refundable thing, people were standing in line. They're like, okay, yeah, are we going to get our $200? Because how it was supposed to work was, you deposit it and then they hold on to it for you. And when you arrive, then you get it back. And then that's supposed to be your spending money for when you're there.
Okay.
Well, it turned into you put in your deposit, you go there. When you arrive, they tell you that they used it for the VIP option, which includes the catering and food and all that, and that you wouldn't be getting it back because now you're automatically upgraded to VIP, which is
what you
signed up for. Yeah, no, nobody got their money
I mean,
back
I know it's $200 and you've already spent $4,000.
Oh, I know, but that's the thinking everyone had.
It's still hold on. So you were told you're just going to get a refund. I don't even understand this. And then you just show up and it's not. He just doesn't give it to you.
Yeah, no, it was because you opted into the VIP and now that money's been allocated towards your VIP stuff. And it was I don't even remember what that VIP advantage was. I don't remember what it was. It was
let me ask you, at any point here, are you thinking,
something may be off?
is something wrong here? What's going on?
Yeah, so when that happened, that was actually, weirdly enough, that was the first time that I started to feel that something was weird. And of course, the conference hasn't even began yet. We're at the hotel, we're just speaking with the team. We're getting all our badges and stuff, signifying that we're at the event. And it was just well, shit, that's just kind of lowballing it, kind of telling people that that was supposed to be their spending money. Cause I didn't bring anything other than maybe $200 myself, for me and my girlfriend.
You were told that you're going to get your $200.
That we were going to get the $200 when we were there. Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I hate to harp on this point, but this is very emblematic of the way Dan rolls. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He tells you one thing. Oh yeah, Salesforce. Oh yeah, Salesforce. We almost have a contract with them. Of course, they're going to be Amazon's good. Jeff Bezos is going to come to your door and ask you, hey, Anthony, please come work for us.
Please sell us kayaks or like
nah.
Oh,
and then when you get in, when you actually pay the $2,000, the $200 a month, he's like, oh yeah, that Salesforce thing, it fell through.
Yeah, and man, that sucked because we were also supposed to get a bunch of specialized Kayvon videos, and they were supposed to be basically just supplemental lessons because, as Garrett already said, once a month you got a new lesson or whatever. And
right.
Then, of course, you'd get the Dinners with Dan, which was a Facebook Live. And then so he did those, of course. And then there was also supposed to be a Kayvon on demand, which they didn't. They pushed it on super back burner. And then around the time Kayvon, I think it was like a couple of weeks before he left at CIB. That's when he made his announcement he was leaving. They finally announced it, or they released like all of it at once. Just from the way it looked like it was all filmed in the same day. So they released all of it at once, and then once he left, I don't remember. So this isn't a fact. This is just me trying to go off memory. I believe they took all of it down when he left. So they only got it for like 3 weeks or so, maybe a month. And I was like, oh, okay. But
a lot of people seem to, this Kayvon Dan Lok split seemed to affect a lot of people.
Yeah, because there were people closing for Kayvon too, separately from Team Dan Lok. They were closing for whatever Kayvon had going on. They were pretty secretive about it, understandably enough, So, when they split,
Black.
Yep. Oh yeah, and Kayvon didn't tell any of his team that he was leaving. So when they were all at Closers in Black, and then he announced that he was leaving, they were all like, well, shit, are we still going to be on the team? Like, that was I'm assuming for most, if not all, that was their income, was doing that. So, from my understanding, they still got to stay on the team, but then they just went off to do whatever Kayvon was doing. I hope that it worked out the best for them, because I haven't heard anything about it since. But so that's pretty much all I know about that, other than I believe someone
did Kayvon
also
go up
told
on
me.
stage and say, would you jump off a cliff if Dan Lok was behind you?
Yeah, it was, I think it was either Kayvon or Desmond. I don't remember, but I remember that. That was just,
wait, hold on. So just for you guys who remember, Desmond and Kayvon were like Dan's right-hand men. And Kayvon ended up leaving. Desmond is still there. In the last video, Garrett told us that
yeah, it's a bit of a weird shocker.
He said while he's prepping everyone to say yes to a sell, he's basically saying, I trusted Dan, you should trust Dan too. And then he goes, look, guys, if Sifu got up behind you and you're on a cliff and he told you to jump off that cliff, would you do it? And apparently people were like, yeah.
Yeah. Actually, there was a lot of people that went like, yeah. And myself, I just kind of like, now I'm a naturally introverted guy, so I don't express myself too much. So I was sitting there just kind of looking down at the ground, because I believe we're all, at one point, we all had to stand up, put our arms in front of us, and then just kind of look down, and we had to like recite the freaking Closers or the High Ticket Closer Creed or whatever, which I've only read like once.
Wait, why don't we know the High Ticket Closer Creed?
I only read it like once.
Do you know it? You don't know it?
I don't know it. So they were reading it off, and I was just kind of like sitting there,
come on, you're a bad student. You got to know the High Ticket Closer Creed.
Yeah. That's why I failed, is because
you didn't memorize Dan's mantra.
I didn't memorize the creed, because you were supposed to. The daily activities you were supposed to do in High Ticket Closer program was, and I didn't do them. I just thought I couldn't get into it. I tried, I genuinely tried and thought nothing of it, weirdly enough. I was like, this is how I'm going to, this is how you're supposed to do it to get the right mindset in order to be rich. And and I just couldn't get into it. So what you were supposed to do was every day you're supposed to read the creed at least once aloud to yourself. And then you were supposed to, when you went to bed, you're supposed to listen to these 2 audio things of Dan speaking for like, both of them are like 14, 15 minutes long. And then in the morning, you were supposed to listen to another one. And it was just, yeah, every single day. And there were people that actually did it. So
how have we gone this deep into Dan Lok and no one has told me?
Who the hell wants to talk about it?
How do I get this thing to focus? How have I never heard of the mantras that Dan Lok has for everybody? What?
Yeah.
Dude, no way.
Yeah.
He's got mantras for people to say every day. You are lying.
Every day.
You're so lying to me.
I have the creed somewhere buried in my archive of bureaucracy, but like,
dude, he makes you listen to tapes of him. Look, guys, he has them on YouTube. I don't know if they're still there, but they were the same ones from YouTube. He pulled them off. They put it into an MP4 file, and then you'd have to listen to them 2 at night and 1 in the morning. And it was like, do you say your prayers to Dan too?
Yeah, well, that's basically what it was, because the whole time it was like, it was basically Dan Lok ASMR.
Oh, Dan,
for like
please
30
bring
minutes.
me a Salesforce contract. Please, Dan. Please, Dan.
It was pretty, I was sitting there and I was like, I can't get into this. Like, I hate ASMR as it is. I don't need like.
This is some like hero worship stuff right here, man. Like this is weird. This is so weird. I've got to tell you, this is one of the strangest things I've ever heard. So you have to listen to seafood 3 times a day. Like it's like literally like a ritual. You pray 5 times a day. You listen to seafood 3 times a day. You listen to the seafood. Weird,
well, they even said it. The way that they put it was every week there was assignments, right? So one of the assignments, which was consistent with every single day of the week or whatever that they wanted you to do, also a daily thing, was to watch at least 3 of his YouTube videos every day, on top of the 3 affirmations, on top of reading the creed. And if you can hit 10 videos in a day, then, you're a fucking all-star. So it was trying to find this fine line in between. I don't remember if they illicitly said this, but essentially the point driven was you had to engross yourself into the content, because then you'd become a better closer. If you do everything step by step that Dan is doing, then of course, by default, everything that you learn, you'll be able to use in order to become like the master closer, And I mean, you can tell when you could tell the people that were doing it from the people that weren't, because the people that were doing it had a different moxie to them when they were speaking on the, like in our practice chats for the role plays. And like they would rack up hundreds of hours in the role plays. But the thing is, like, the people that racked up hundreds of hours in the role plays, they like never got an influencer. They never, I shouldn't say all.
Busy listening to Dan, my man.
Because that's that.
How can you talk to influencers when you got Dan in the series,
That was that fine line, is that, if you're engrossing yourself in the content all the time, like some of these people, they still have full-time jobs. They don't got time. They got kids, they got responsibilities, much more than I did at least. And like trying to find a time to reach out to influencers and listen to 30 minutes or 45 with the morning one of Dan ASMR in a day. And goddamn, like,
are you listening to the same one every day?
It was the same 3 every day. Yeah. So
it's like,
yeah. So they weren't new by any means. And I believe I haven't checked for myself, because I've banned myself from
You're
ever
indoctrinated.
looking into that
You are
side of YouTube
indoctrinating yourself. That's part of the policy, is you indoctrinate yourself 45 minutes in the morning, right? Or 15 minutes in the morning. How many?
I think it was 15. I never got into it.
And then 30 minutes at night. And then say your closer's creed, committing yourself to the closer's program. Wow.
Yeah. As well as post on the Facebook group every day, which, video is best. So post your videos on the Facebook group every day. Send out 100 messages to find influencers every day, if you didn't already have an influencer. And
so did you relate when Garrett said this was a cult? Were you like, oh yeah, #relatable?
that was, pretty hashtag relatable. So that was interesting enough on its own, just to come to the realization later, because it was after Closes in Black that I started to think that was weird. Now, why I didn't think that was weird beforehand, probably because I've never had to do something like that before. So,
oh man, dude.
yeah, because I've never had a sociology teacher tell me to listen to 45 minutes of sociology ASMR before every day, or a math teacher or anything like that. So I don't know why I didn't find it weird when I fucking.
Yeah, and I've heard that he also tells you to not listen to other gurus while you're taking his thing, right?
Now, that's a very fine line, because how it worked was there were constantly fights between the communities, not necessarily the teams, but the communities. Like, for instance, the Grant Cardone community would pick fun of the Dan Lok community, and they would butt heads for a bit. And then eventually, Team Dan Lok had to submit a statement saying, guys, we have no reason to hate them. They have no reason to hate us. But it was just sort of sad in the first place that they had to even step out and say, guys, why the hell are you wasting your time with this? But I guess people just took it as a general rule of thumb that if you weren't following the HTC lifestyle, then you weren't worth living, like you.
Yeah, you weren't in the family, dude.
You weren't in the family.
You weren't a brother or sister, man. You're not my brother. Hey, who's my family? That look at my HTC brothers and sisters. They're my real family. Right?
Yeah, really. Like, there was I hated the mindset I had so much during that time, because it was very much, you almost, in order to justify everything that I had done at that point, I almost had to like automatically belittle others just to put myself on that pedestal, to think like I'm on the route to success. And if I didn't automatically do that, which I'm ashamed of that. I don't like that at all, that I did that, but I'm going to admit that I did it. If I didn't automatically do it, then if I'm on the same ground as everyone else, then what is this so-called advantage that I chose to invest in doing for me? If I'm just, if anything, if you're comparing how much I'm making versus how much I'm spending, if anything, lowering myself from the rest of the crowd that, maybe, for instance, I only told my girlfriend this, but when I was at the university in Canada, I could not make friends with people. I was so arrogant. I was so I just couldn't take the other students seriously, because in my mind I was thinking, well, I'm this high ticket closer, right? Like, I'm on my route to success. I don't even need school. Why the hell am I here? I'm wasting my time and money. All these other students, they're like a joke, basically. Like, they're not serious about their life, not like I am. And it was just sad, so
I'm really glad you said that. I think I don't think it's anything to be ashamed of. I think it was a form. It sounds like a form of like psychological protection. You're trying to protect yourself from like realizing what's going on.
Yeah, because once I came around to realizing my mistakes, I was like, yeah, fuck me, this hurts. So yeah, it was pretty.
I think a lot of people will be able to relate to that. I mean, really, truly, if you're an HTC right now, you might have done the same thing or be doing the same thing right now.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, I really, really hope that a lot of the people that were in HTC that left, or even the ones that are still in there but just scared to leave, I really hope they're doing okay, and that they invested not in it. I know for a fact there's some people that invested into the program at the worst time they could have. Like, it just was not in their favor to do so, like selling their car and quitting their job in order to make time and have enough capital to get in, and then they still, carried on with it, and they got nothing out of it. That makes me so sick, because I thought I had it bad.
There are people there that's happened to then, yes?
Yeah, absolutely. I know for a fact, because I've talked to some of them, and I know Garrett mentioned that too. So And I also know there are some people that, they had a little bit of money to their name, just like I did, and maybe they're not in debt. I'm happy to say I never went in debt. But after it was all said and done, I had $40. So from going to, and that's US dollars. So from going to, from 22,000 college funds and 10,000 from gas station money. And on top of that, forgot to mention at the beginning of this, but I had 16,500 in scholarships that I had got through, I did a lot of community service work through Pi Theta Kappa, which was our local college's honor society. And I had gotten 16,500 scholarships in US dollar from that. And by the end, when it was all said and done, my scholarships were null because I spent as much as my allowances were, because, it's segmented into years, spent as much as my allowances were. The rest was forfeit because I chose not to go to school anymore.
Because you were in high ticket closer.
Because I was in high ticket clothing program and I was on a fast track to success, right? What did I need school for? The 3 years I spent trying to get into Canada, well, that was the biggest waste. I mean, if anything, I feel horrible that I spent the $22,000 my father spent years saving up.
Wait, so okay, hold on. Let me get this straight, because I got to figure out how much. I don't do this. I did the same thing with Garrett. I don't do it to bring up the wounds. But let's talk about how much the decision cost. Because people, you're listening at home, you're promised the dream. You don't know what this could cost you. You know what it could. Dan tells you what it could get you, but he doesn't tell you what it'll cost you. Okay, $16,500 for the scholarships. Then you had how much saved up from your gas station job?
It was, I'm gonna rough estimate 10 grand from gas station money.
$10,000.
Yep.
And then you spent the college fund that your dad had saved for you, which was $22,000.
Yep, all this in US dollar.
Wow.
So it was, so the biggest chunk of that was the college, because that was, I think, like 17,500 Canadian. And then there was like a freaking $900 parking permit. Talk about highway robbery with the parking that they got there. 1 kilometer away from campus, by the way, so that was awesome. But so in total, that was what, 18? Yeah, so 800 plus.
So do you know how much all that money equates to?
I mean, all I know is that the college was the biggest single expense.
Yeah.
And then just recurring expenses, cost of living was enough to destroy me. And then also that's not even factoring the opportunity cost, because I chose not to work because I wanted to put all my time outside of school into focus on HTC, when I could have been working part-time up to 20 hours as per my student visa allowance. Mm-hmm. Of course, that would have just been minimum wage, which at the time was like 14 something for student wages, I think.
Yeah, but it's
But
it's still not bad.
Still not terrible. I mean, for like the 6 months I was there, that would have amounted to something at some point. So, I came home with $40.
How many years, or was it a year? About a year that it took for all this to happen?
So it was about, I think, from June to December. So 6 months. 6 months for all this. So
6 months.
There was the 2,500 from joining HTC, which, I made that decision. And then there was the inner circle, which was 2,000 plus 5 months of the $200 a month.
So that's 1,000.
Yep. So 1,000 plus 2,000, and then after that was HTM. So of course.
Oh, you forgot Closures in Black, which sounded like it was $2,000 roughly to go.
Yeah, just with plane tickets and all that fun stuff, and of course souvenir money was in there. So that one's kind of like, irrelevant to the HTC experience, but
it's totally relevant to the HTC experience. Oh, wait.
I mean, my Vancouver license plate's kind of like.
Yeah, dude. No, you take too much. I appreciate your attitude, and I think other people will appreciate your attitude too. But you have to realize Dan's the one who like brought you out to Closures Black. I mean, he's the reason you went. You wouldn't have gone to Vancouver just for giggles. Okay, so 2,500, 2,000 plus 1,000, 3,000 plus 2,000, and then High Ticket Millionaire. I've got to hear about this.
Yeah, so here we are. We're finishing up our, affirmations or whatever you want to call it. And
prayers.
Then, prayers. And then we get to the part where, he releases HTM and the benefits he mentioned before anyone signed anything. So I know I can describe this is, you get, I believe Garrett might have mentioned it too. You get like the boat ride down the river, and then I remember Garrett mentioned that it was packed on there. It was very packed on that boat. You go
on Dan's yacht or whatever, his rented yacht.
Yep, the rented one. I gotta say that was pretty cool. I'd never been on one before, and it was just I know me and my girlfriend loved it, so I was happy to make her happy with that. And every time we look back on like the whole like experience with all the fuck ups and everything, we're like, yeah, but at least we got to go on the yacht though. So so there's that. But that was kind of cool actually. So anyhow, I mean, that was one expensive ass boat ride with
how much was High Ticket Millionaire?
It was for the month that I paid for, because I stayed it was technically October through November, which is what I stayed for. I stayed till the end of November, but they were going to keep it as one, even though it was over a month. Just because October, Dan was actually right after CIB. He went just on a personal vacation, and they were like, okay, yeah, you won't have to pay for the additional month, since technically we're not doing anything. And that's fair enough, right? So I'll give them credit on that one. So November, when things kick into gear, I had spent an additional 2,500 USD on HTM. So
by now you've spent 10 grand on Dan Lok products. I just totaled it up. 10 grand on Dan Lok products. The opportunity cost totaling with scholarships and everything else of just kind of wasting time on this HTC thing is $50,000.
Yeah, I don't like to hear that.
Sorry.
I know I gotta face that. Like I gotta live with that, and I do.
No, and it's not about you facing it. It's people who want to join. Look, guys, this isn't $2,500. It's $2,500. Then it's a $2,000 upsell. Then it's a $2,000 or $1,000, however you can afford it, Closures in Black thing. Then it's a $2,500 a month upsell after that. And then you have to factor in the opportunity cost of what all this is going to take you before you may realize, like Garrett and Anthony did, that it wasn't getting them anywhere. So no, I really, these numbers are important because people live in a state of fear and shame. I cannot tell you how many people emailed me. They go, hey, I don't even know why they email me. It's like I'm their priest or something like that, because they don't want to make it public. They don't want to make it public.
I totally get that.
They just want to tell somebody, because they go, hey, I'm $50,000 in debt. I will not come on the record. I don't want to say anything because I'm so ashamed of it.
But thank God for listening. That's what it is.
They want, they're like, finally, someone who's saying that this stuff isn't working, so I don't feel so bad. I don't feel like I'm the loser, because you're not. You've been essentially preyed upon by a what I think to be, let's be legal here, careful here, who I think to be an unscrupulous marketer. So yeah, I'm trying to remove the stigma of this stuff and get more people talking about these predatory systems, because the more you talk about it, the more Garrett talks about it, the more people say, hey, this happened to me too. I'm not ashamed of it. It was a part of my life, and I can help other people in the future.
Yeah, exactly. And again, nobody forced me to join HTC, forced me to join Inner Circle, forced me to attend CIB, forced me to join HTM. They were all my decisions, and I accept those. And the consequences thereof were massive to me. And of course, I'm more than happy to finally freaking share, at least on a larger public audience scale, what my personal experience was going through it, in the way that I've, personally handled things. So, and the consequences specific to my case, of course. So, for me, I gotta say the worst part wasn't even like the money, because I mean, I'm young enough, I'm healthy enough to where I can, still choose. Like, I'm going into the
100%.
trades now,
Mhm.
which I found I love so much more. To be honest, I don't even know why I wanted to go into sales, because I'm an introvert. Fuck that. I mean, I gave it a try with some places in town that they were sales places. I gave it a try for a bit, and I'm like, why? I don't enjoy this. Even like, I made some decent money later on using what I learned from that newer coach that I had hired, and actually, that's, of all the expenses I made, that's the one I don't regret. But I just didn't enjoy sales in general. So I'm in the trades now. I enjoy that, and I know that in a couple of years I'll be making decent money with it.
What are you
at least
working
enough
towards?
to make me happy. Oh, I want to do electrician work. That'd be awesome.
That's great, man. Hey, yeah, like one of the things I'm a big fan of is trades, school. Like,
Oh, it's so much cheaper than freaking 4
yeah,
years, and
dude,
it's
listen,
actually fun.
here's the thing. I'm trying to break people out of the mentality that you have to be rich to be happy, that you have
Yeah.
to be, a lot of these gurus, they like talk bad about jobs that don't make a ton of money. And just,
Well, I mean, even with electrician, plumbing, HVAC, and if you're really damn good at it, carpentry, you can make 6 figures a year doing that shit easy.
oh yeah, but they belittle it though. They go,
Yeah,
hey, I'm on my
that's the part I
laptop.
don't understand, because it's
Yeah.
like, well, sure, like I can't do the same job if I wanted to do it in Morocco. I can't go there overnight. But I mean, the thing is with the trades is that once you get certified in Canada, it's the Red Seal. You can do that anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
It's just you can't stay for a weekend. You'll have to stay like 6 months minimum probably, and or most likely summer crews when they need the extra help. But same principle, just different type of work. It's more physically demanding, of course, but I still recommend
you're
it.
adding demonstrable value to the world, which there's something to be said about that. Whereas a lot of these laptop lifestyle people, what are they doing? Like, what are they actually doing? If you're taking
Yeah.
another person's gas station money, you're not adding demonstrable value to the world.
Well, that's the way I see it now. Is I specifically chose the trades because I was just kind of done with feeling like that I almost had to like screw people over to get what I wanted.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
I was like, instead of doing that, I'd rather build something to what they want, and I still get paid great for it, and they're gonna love it because, if they choose to live in that house for 15 years, then they'll get daily benefit. It's a thankless job, but I don't care. It's something I chose because I'm happy with. Because like, you don't think about who sets up your lights. You just turn on the light switch and it's fine. But if you can make 100,000 a year doing that, and I don't have to work retail, I'll do that any day. Yeah. So yeah, that's my thought on it. And I mean, for 1 to 2 years of schooling to get that taken care of, like, hell, you can almost avoid. Of course, this doesn't apply to everybody, but you can almost avoid debt doing that if you get a head start in high school and work a part-time job, save up some money. And there's so many scholarships for the trades. It's unbelievable, especially women. They get there's a lot of scholarships for women in the trades too. There's 2 girls in the class I'm working with right now for what I'm doing for carpentry, and then my second year is going to be electrician, and they're great at it. So I mean, it's not only an exclusively male thing, which I know a lot of people also think about. So
I'm really glad. I'm really happy you said that. Cool. That's really awesome. So okay. I mean, I guess the one thing we really haven't talked about yet, which I guess we need to get to, is when did you get out of HTC? When did you realize, like, oh wait, this isn't working?
Yeah. So that's during the Cave-On event last December. It's been a year already. Geez,
Yep.
It's been a year already.
Mm-hmm.
So me just thinking my life over. What happened was, of course, they separated. It got pretty ugly, specifically because from what I heard, there was some sort of agreement between Dan and Kayvon where Kayvon couldn't do something along the likes of HTC, even though he co-founded it. It wasn't only Dan that made HTC, it was Dan and Kayvon, and then Kayvon made his exit. And then Kayvon did it anyways, and then he started recruiting people from within HTC as well. And Dan didn't like the battle on his turf, so he released a video which was taken down shortly thereafter that specifically said, or at least very closely to, the HTC community is now declaring war on Kayvon. And it was, holy shit, I wish he didn't do that even for his own brand, because people sent death threats to Kayvon, which was not cool.
What?
And yeah, death threats. So that's why they took that video down pretty fast, because that was not a good situation at all. And people got super hyped up just to go hell-bent to destroy Kayvon's image and brand and community and whatever he was trying to build, and just cripple the guy in any way necessary. And anyone who followed him, anyone who spoke up about it, removed from the group. You're no longer part of the HTC community. So
the guy runs
yeah, it was pretty intense. And then when they realized
Lil Kim, that's all I'll say.
When they realized that maybe this wasn't a good idea, they took down the video, and then they stopped banning people unless someone illicitly said, just as an example, I'm not saying someone said this, but the Kayvon thing is better than HTC, then if it was something along those lines, you were out. But if it was like, guys, why are we doing this? Then you weren't necessarily kicked out anymore. It was just up to the community to decide what to do with you, and all the people that were defending you, well, they were kicked out already, so good luck. So, and as for the people that got kicked out, well, one, they didn't want back in, but two, I think there were a couple people that tried to see if they can get back in anyways. They were denied access, which then they started getting a bit upset about that, because now this thing that they paid for, which was in advertising supposed to have lifetime access to the Facebook group, now they're out. Well, they wanted ramifications for that, so they went off and started their own Facebook group specifically just to hate on the HTC community. The irony in that is unreal, I know, but just crazy shit happened. And during the middle of that, I was like, all right, I'm done with this. I've wasted enough of my time and money on this. I'm out. I'm heading out. So I left, and I was very pissed at everything at the time. I was pissed at the world, pissed at myself, pissed at HTC. And then eventually I just came to the realization that, well, fuck, I dropped out already. I dropped out in November because I was neglecting my classes so much that I was just straight up failing in them.
Because you're too busy focusing on HTC.
I couldn't miss it. I missed more days of school, and I, couldn't miss, trying to get in new influencers when the other one didn't really work out, or I wasn't making money, and I was like, okay, I better start working my way towards a backup plan. And so it was just pretty sad in its own right how everything turned out, because if anything, the only thing I had left after that, other than $40, was my girlfriend, who Jesus Christ, that taught me right then and there that she's definitely not with me for any sort of money or anything like that. So I love her very much, and she's everything to me. So she's stuck with me still to this day. So and she's helped me on my rebound back up. So I've been working mad hours to try and make back that money as fast as possible.
Yeah, it might be time to put a ring on that, dude.
Yeah, I know, right? So
that's a good girl.
Yeah.
Stay with you through thick and thin.
Yeah, exactly. She's everything I want and more. So, well.
Aw. Well, hey, man, that's a pretty good place to leave it. Do you have anything? I always say two things. Number one, Dan Lok is listening to this right now. So say something to Sifu, please. Give your final
Well,
thoughts to Sifu.
I mean, if Dan personally, or at least someone
Or
close to
Desmond,
him,
or someone from
or
HTC.
Desmond, or anyone close to him, someone from HTC, were to be watching this right now, I just have to say, like, and this is going to catch everyone who's watching this off guard, but I'd first have to say thank you, actually, for essentially teaching me to fuck up so bad. Or no, again, I made those choices, but the consequences of following through with everything that I was doing. I've never worked so hard in my life to rebound from anything. I mean, I'm going to the gym now. My daily schedule is 8 to 3, attend my carpenter classes. 5 to 9:30 at night for winter hours, I'm working at a lumber yard. And then from 11 to 1 in the morning, I'm at the gym. And before that, no way in hell was I that busy. So
they let you hit rock bottom.
Yeah, they taught me how to do that pretty good. So, so if anything, thanks for that, I guess. And yeah, next time I'm just gonna have to. I think I'm just gonna have to stick out of it next time. I'm not gonna go back for seconds. I think the one catastrophe is good enough for a lifetime. So.
Yeah, man. You learned that if it looks too good to be true, unfortunately, it is.
It is, yeah.
Yeah. That's good. And then what about to the people to your bros and your sisters? Sorry, I'm being a little tongue in cheek. To the people in HTC.
Yeah, no. It's cool. So to the people in HTC, I'd have to say that, of course, I'm sure some of you automatically the people that are really in tune with HTC, they just automatically hate me right now, just by default.
Mm-hmm.
For the people that, maybe are giving an open ear, maybe keeping an open mind about some things, I'd have to say, of course, I'm happy you listened, because this is my real story. I'm back in the United States. I lost everything. I even lost the chance to be with the person I love permanently. I have to figure it out now and try and find a way to bring her here. So just be aware, watch yourself, make sure you're doing what's right for you, not doing something because someone told you to do it. I know you can think independently. I know you have it in you. And for the people that have already left, just please consider sharing your story, because the more testimonies we have, the more real it gets. And I know you know what I mean when I say that. So we both sat through the same thing, and Garrett too, for that matter. So I'm trusting you to know what's right for you and your situation. And just circling back to the people that are diehard HTC, I'm just going to respect your opinion, something that I know you're not allowed to do. So that's that.